Welcome. This is All Minus One Quick Shots. Folks, you may have heard late yesterday the passing of H.R. 8 went through the House. Now, there's a lot to talk about with this, but essentially what we are looking at is a bill that has been around for a little while, and they were finally able to get it through, the Democrats that is, on transfers of firearms and how that is to be done, and the use of background checks. Now, there is a large fallacy out there about some places require no background checks and whatever else. That's not true. It's a matter of if you are going through a federal firearms dealer, a licensed dealer, and this federal law would create such a thing. Now, before I get into that specifically, what I want to remind you of is how the media likes to work with campaigns like this, and they were on this a little bit ahead of time. You may have seen this video a few years back. You may recall this, and I'm just going to play it for you, and perhaps you will see the pattern here.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too...
Speaking of which, the mainstream legacy media is the biggest perpetrator of this. Now, of course, you could read some random blogs, or you could watch some YouTube videos or something where someone says something that is not factual. But they don't have the same control and influence or money behind them as the mainstream media. Nor are they getting knowledge from on high, from the top down, from those people who run the banks, the NGOs, the World Economic Forum, the UN, name your initialed whatever, the World Bank, whatever it may be. They're not a part of that. They're just people like me out there making content. They're independent. But yesterday I talked about ideologies and language, and one of the things that I spoke of specifically was this this concept that I have of not really holding to any ideology other than seeking the truth, and that I believe certain things based on what I witness in the truth. And this is exactly what I was talking about, that the world is run from the top down, not the bottom up, as it is supposed to be, at least in this nation of these United States.
Too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish the same fake story without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous.
No, I've told you before, when they say things like this is extremely dangerous to our democracy, this is actually code amongst them. And again, this is my own speculation. You don't have to believe this, but it seems fairly obvious. When they say against our democracy, first, we are a republic. So we know that they're not being truthful. We know that their beliefs are misplaced. But two, what they really mean is us elite, us oligarchs. This is extremely dangerous to our power and our control, because democracy is always oligarchy, folks. It always is. Make no mistakes about it. That was the purpose of creating a republic, so there would not be some crazy oligarchy, and keeping the government minimalist, having a small watchdog state, basically there to protect your liberties and not much else. So in any case, that is that video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can go find that. Of course, you can see the title there on screen. Now, this was interesting. I picked this up a few days ago as I do my regular meme mining, as I do a live show called The Ends Justify the Memes. Links are in the description, guys, if you were not aware or if you were new to this channel. Right here we have mass shooting surge in Florida as nation faces high record. Mass shooting surge in Wisconsin as nation faces high record. Mass shooting surge in Tennessee as nation faces high record, and so forth and so on. Now, this is a live Google search. This is my system right here, right? And we see the same thing. Mass shooting surge, mass shooting surge. There's a subreddit here, which is a very, very long list of the same thing. And then we had Tim Pool over on, Tim Pool's main page, his original page. Democrats pass new gun control bill. Media launches creepy coordinated propaganda on gun crime. I would encourage you to watch this. I know some of you, my regular audience who I engage with, are not fans of Tim Pool. I get why you're not fans of Tim Pool. Tim is still a really good news aggregate, in my opinion. And I'd much rather listen to him than, say, Ben Shapiro. I listen to a lot of folks, though. I am sub to thousands of channels on YouTube. Not all of them are political or philosophical or cultural. Some of them are exercise things. Some of them are food things. Some of them are video game things when I just want to relax. In any case, but Tim Pool is someone I go to nearly daily, generally daily. Now, I don't always watch his full content because sometimes I'm just like, okay, whatever, Tim. But the point is he did a pretty good job with this, showing this, talking about this last night. So what are we really getting into and what are we really talking about? Well, we're talking about this, again, H.R. 8, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2021. Now, this, again, was introduced prior into the legislature, but it was not passed. And that's what happens. Now it has passed. It will go on to the Senate. So what will happen there within the Senate? Well, likely, in my opinion, it will not get passed. There will be challenges to this. If it does get passed in the Senate, there will be constitutional challenges. So they have to, since 2011, they have to put in the constitutional reasons why they are passing this bill. And let's see. Constitutional authority statement right here. It says, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 provides Congress the power to regulate commerce with foreign nation and amongst the several states and with the Indian tribes. Right. That's commerce. That has nothing to do with gun control or gun restrictions, and it was never seen that way ever. But this is their authorization. And depending on how libertine the judges are, which most of them are, or how corporatist they are, this may hold up if it goes to the Supreme Court. I have a feeling, though, that under the general scope of this, that it may not. But again, it has to pass the Senate. And of course, the second clause is Article 1, Section 8, and Clause 18 allows Congress to make any laws which shall be necessary for carrying into execution. And again, this is very vague language, which is in the Constitution, which was never meant to be applied this way. Remember, the proper role of the Constitution is to restrict the federal government's power. It is not a handbook of what powers they have. It is a handbook saying this is the scope of what you can do, and you have no other powers. It's a limitation on the government, although it's not seen that way today. It's seen as an authorization. So here is the actual bill. These things are very easy to find, but essentially, let's just read this first line here. It says, the purpose of this act is to utilize the current background checks process in the United States to ensure individuals prohibited from gun purchases or possession are not able to obtain firearms. And basically, the whole thing is no straw sales. Technically, a straw sale is when you buy, and then you return you buy it with the purpose to sell it, or you buy it for somebody else immediately, not to have a private sale later on. But in most states, you can sell privately without going through an FFL. Now, I have done both in the past. I've sold privately to people before. I'm not a huge firearms guy. I of course, have some. But, I've done that, perfectly legal. And I've done it through paperwork because I've done it cross state lines before, which you certainly must do currently according to federal regulation, federal law. This is talking about regulating things within the state itself, not across state lines, which makes it unconstitutional, and it violates the 9th and 10th Amendment. Speaking of which, in my local community, the county I live in, don't worry guys, I'm not worried about doxing myself, Berkeley County Council adopts Second Amendment Sanctuary County Resolution. Martinsburg, West Virginia, Berkeley County Council President Doug Copenhaver took the lead Thursday in pressing for passage of a Second Amendment Sanctuary County resolution, which passed unanimously. This is why you need to go live in good communities, folks. And he says, we get emails, yada, yada, yada. Basically, they listen to the people. So I'm asking for the county council to support the resolution to make Berkeley County a Second Amendment sanctuary. Let me put this in dark mode, guys. It makes it a little bit easier for me and hopefully you as well. It says the biggest thing is that it says is the council is not willing to put any money into the effort to take anyone's guns away who are law-abiding citizens. The Second Amendment is one of the 10 amendments. Duh. Yeah, well, that's what you get for the Herald Mail. Anyways, it says other area communities have already adopted similar measures, including Washington County, that's over in Maryland, that's where I grew up, and Jefferson County, which is where Harper's Ferry is at. And Jefferson County is actually quite liberal. In fact, I believe a large portion of Jefferson County voted for Biden, but they are still against this. It's a college town county, so that's probably why. In any case, here's another article from the Journal-News. Berkeley County Council approves resolution to become Second Amendment sanctuary. This was March 11th, just yesterday. And again, it talks about how a unanimous vote went underway. Now, at the same time, they're doing similar measures in Arizona. This is an interesting article from January 9th. It says, "Here comes the crazy, a bill allowing Arizona to ignore federal gun laws." Well, the feds have no right constitutionally to implement these gun laws. This is a 9th and 10th Amendment issue. The Arizona government has every right to do this. And let's not forget the sanctuary city regulations. Let's not forget that Louisiana held out for decades on raising their drinking age to 21 because the federal government pressured everyone under Ronald Reagan, because of Nancy Reagan, to up the drinking age or they would not get federal highway funding, which is how the game is played. So this person writes in the AZ Central, some leftist idiot, oh, they can't just ignore some laws. Yeah, just like all leftists always do, they pick and choose what they can ignore. Well, sanctuary cities is moral. Ignoring gun regulations is immoral. Yeah, I don't think so. Here we have from January 8th, Arizona Republicans filed Second Amendment sanctuary bill to ban state aid and federal anti-gun activity. This is from the centersquare.com, Arizona. And then here from Fox 10 Phoenix, more Arizona counties approve sanctuary resolution on gun rights. This is February 10th. So they were foreseeing this coming because, again, folks, when you keep your ear and on the ground, you know, you listen to the things coming upstream, you keep your eye on the ball, you could see these things happening, which a lot of people have. Which is why a lot of people have been trying to stock up on ammo and such. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that there is going to be pushback, just like I said. Everyone who's panicking about this Joe Biden administration, and really Kamala Harris administration, if you watch the video, I should have had that queued up. Biden signs off on some bill the other day. I can't recall what it was. And Kamala like picks him up. Or no, I know what it was. It was after he addressed the nation. She basically like scoots him off. It's quite interesting to watch them juggle the president, who's obviously facing senility or dementia. It's a sad state, folks. Like I've said, as the sunsetting of America is happening, so is the sunsetting of our president. It is a quite profound metaphor and irony but it is happening. In any case, back to the issue at hand here, the HR 8. What does all this mean? Well, the feds will get pushback in the Senate. I don't think this will pass, but if it does, if somehow it does, because of folks like Mitt Romney, and Mitt Romney will vote yes on this, folks. Mark my words. I would be very surprised if he votes otherwise. If the bill gets passed and it goes, I think there will be constitutional challenge. There will be a large constitutional challenge in the federal courts and eventually the Supreme Court. And if that doesn't happen, there will be state and local challenges, much like we have seen with marijuana over the years, where it's basically been completely ignored by the federal government because more and more states are saying, yeah, we're going to decide what we want to do. By the way, folks, the scheduling of drugs by the federal government is completely unconstitutional. We had to pass an amendment, the 20th, I believe it was, and the 21st Amendment to basically ban alcohol and then reestablish alcohol. And some people go, well, that's because alcohol's always been with us. Drugs have always been with us, folks. Shamans have always been around, psychedelics and everything else. It's been throughout humanity. That has nothing to do with it. It is a Ninth Amendment right that you get to put whatever you want into your body. And no, those rights do not come from the government. They come from natural law or universal law created by God. Now, I know there's some Christians that would argue otherwise. We can get to the metaphysics of all that some other time. The point being is that in our system, it was decided that men are bestowed these rights and our government no longer cares, and there will be pushback. We have to consider our local law enforcement, our sheriff's departments. This is why it's important you know who your sheriff is. I was actually highly surprised in the one article there. It was talking about Washington County, where I basically lived most of my life. The sheriff has been very pro 2A. I actually was shooting with a friend of mine just this past weekend, trying to sight in a newer rifle of mine, or as it were, the iron sights on it. And we were talking about that. He was telling me that the sheriff was really good about that. And I was actually very surprised because I used to work for the sheriff. And I don't like him that much. I mean, he's actually personally a nice guy, but he's a terrible, terrible leader. In any case, look, this is not the end-all, be-all. What this really is probing. This is legislative probing to see what the people will put up with, to see where the states will go. This is why I often talk about how this whole thing with the Democrats winning and all is not the end, as a lot of people seem to think after Trump was out of office. It is not that at all. What it is simply the establishment having a referendum on the rebellion. And eventually this will come to a very violent head, which is why I'm telling everyone now to be prepared for that violence to come, to move to the countryside, to have the ammo and the weapons you need so you may hunt or defend your home if need be. Protect your family. Do the things that you need to do to make sure that you are safe and prepared and okay, because America is about to go through a really rocky, rough time. And frankly, the federal government, as far as their intrusions upon your rights, is not my biggest concern right now. Now, it's something I'm concerned about for sure. But my biggest concern is the hyperinflation heading our way and the mass amounts of economic downturn, job losses, poverty, potential starvation, whatever else is going to go on. And with all that, the lack of power that the individual sovereign citizen has. Because that's really what money does, guys, is it gives you freedom and power to a large extent. And the more restricted it is, the more the government has control of you, which is why our whole entire monetary system globally, but especially here in the United States, is based on debt slavery. So again, just to wrap this up, because I'm going on 20 minutes here. Look, guys, HR 8, should you worry? It's a concern. I don't think it'll pass the Senate. If it passed the Senate, there will be constitutional challenges. There will be federal court challenges. If it passes those, there will be local challenges. And you have to expect cooperation between local government and federal government. The only downside to that is that eventually, if you do not pay attention, your local government, the state, county, city, your sheriff's department, municipal police, all of those things, if you do not pay attention, they will be taken over by leftists. And I can promise you, many of them are already infiltrated by leftists. So be vigilant. Be aware. Take care of your communities, because your communities are all you have. The people in Washington, D.C., they don't know about your life. They don't care about you. And most of them are completely oblivious to your struggles and your reality. So stop making them your gods and stop believing that they are the ones with the solutions. They are not. With all that said, folks, this has been all -1 Quick Shots, and I wish you all well.